Have you ever wondered why you're stuck at the same body fat no matter how hard you try to diet? I used to feel the exact same until I realized it wasn't about doing more to lose fat. It was about what I needed to stop doing. So in this video, I'm going to show you the 4 things I stopped doing that allowed me to finally get down to 15% body fat without cutting out carbs or chocolate. And if you want to know how long it will take to hit 15% body fat, grab my free calculator from the description below. 272 pounds on the scales. That's where I was. I kept thinking if I could just be more disciplined, strict enough, tough enough, maybe I'd crack it. 6 to 9 months of pure suffering, then it'd be sorted forever. Every single day was a grind, 1,700 calories. Honestly, if you're close to 300 pounds, that's way too low. No wonder why I felt miserable. Running in the rain, saying no to everything, pushing through every craving. Here's what I didn't get. I was treating fat loss like a project with an end date. 272 pounds down to 192 pounds in record time. Rapid, aggressive, totally unsustainable. 5 months later, most of that weight was right back. I was standing in front of the mirror, frustrated. I could drop the weight fast, but holding on to the results, different story. I thought fat loss was like getting to the top of a mountain. Get there and you're done. But it isn't. It's way more like a garden. You can't just mow the lawn once and call it finished. So here's what I actually did. Tracked my food. Made sure I was getting plenty of protein and I wasn't scared of carbs. So yeah, potatoes, oats, rice, all that good stuff. Lots of fiber so I wasn't starving all the time. And instead of forcing myself to run, I just aimed for 8 to 12,000 steps a day. It was slower, but honestly, it felt miles better. 17 years later, that fat's still off. I built the habits, I built the lifestyle. Yeah, I bulk up and cut down when I'm competing, but that's intentional. I'm actually in control now. That shift from I need to survive this to I'm building something I can actually maintain. That was the difference between temporary weight loss and a result I could hold on to. But even after all that, there was still something making it feel unsustainable. I used to think that more volume automatically meant more muscle. Like just piling on set after set, it would guarantee bigger gains and faster results. Honestly, for some people or at certain stages, that can actually work. But it's not as simple as more is better. It really depends on you, where you're at, how you're progressing, and how well you're actually recovering. Back then, I was doing 5 to 6 exercises per body part per session, throwing in every intensity technique I could find. I'd leave the gym completely wiped out, convinced that if I wasn't sore, I hadn't done enough. But here's the thing. Would you keep working overtime if you weren't getting paid for it? Probably not. Same goes for training. If you push past what your body can actually handle, you're just racking up fatigue with no extra muscle to show for it. Once I cut my volume down and actually paid attention to how my body felt, my results improved. I had more energy. I performed better, even in a deficit. So yeah, sometimes more volume can help you grow, but it's not a magic formula. You've got to find what really works for you, not what wrecks you. And speaking of feeling wrecked, there was one training method I thought would burn fat faster, but honestly, it did the opposite. I'd give that classic pitch. HIIT gets you lean fast, torches calories even after you leave. Epoch. You've probably heard that everywhere, right? In 2018, I had members coming in 5, 10 times a week, all in, motivated as hell. Then, same story every time. Injury, burnout, ridiculous hunger, and then end up bailing on their diet. What I didn't realize was the problem is too much of anything, Even exercise just trashes your recovery. Now stack your calorie deficit on top, plus work headaches, real life pressure, and dodgy sleep, and it's a perfect storm. Of course, owning a HIIT studio, I drank my own Kool-Aid. 3 months in, my weight was down a fair bit, then I hit a wall. Digestion wasn't great, I was getting sick fairly often, knees were aching. I was doing military style HIIT 5 times a week. My lifts were going down, my appetite was going through the roof, and I was sleeping like crap. My body was basically waving a white flag, so I called it with a HIIT. Several years later, the latest research on HIIT says it isn't any better than regular cardio for fat loss. You might burn more in a session, but that hunger, the constant fatigue, and the way it eats into recovery, most guys just can't stick with it long enough to see the results. So I switched it up, just walking. At first, it honestly felt too easy. But guess what? My fat loss became more predictable, my lifts went up, and I actually looked forward to my workouts. For me, it comes down to what's sustainable. Walking's the one thing I can stick with work calls, podcasts, getting outside. My body isn't wrecked and I can stay consistent without hating life. Now look, if you're mad about your Peloton or you love a longer rowing session, do your thing. But at 6'4" and 240 pounds, my joints weren't having it and they probably never will. Most guys just want what works, and this is it. Just ask yourself, are you doing all the HIIT because you genuinely like it or because you think you're supposed to suffer? Even after dialing in my training and cardio, my nutrition nearly tanked everything. I fell into the trap that keeps most men stuck, and for me, it got ugly. Okay, so I used to be that guy who'd only eat if I could read every ingredient. No takeaways, no eating out. Just super strict, clean eating, like nothing remotely processed. I tried everything, intermittent fasting, keto, even those hardcore carnivore stretches. Honestly, it all worked until it just stopped working long term. And then weekends would come, I'd see a burger, tell myself it would just be one cheat meal. Next thing, it's 3 days of a cheat weekend, and literally I'm just binging and trying to justify it. I'd feel disgusting, head wrecked, totally fed up that I couldn't just get it together. But it wasn't about discipline. It was trying to be too rigid. I'd heard all about that if it fits your macros stuff, but thought that's not for me. I'd just end up starving or eating junk. But then I actually tried a more flexible mindset. 80% whole foods, 20% whatever fits your calories. That's when things finally clicked. And look, there's solid research on this too. Guys who are a bit flexible with their eating actually stick to it way longer. Don't binge as much and keep the weight off. It's all about actually sticking to your plan, not trying to be perfect. And at the end of the day, the best plan is the one you can actually follow even when family or work gets in the way. Not just what sounds good on paper. Now, if certain foods totally mess you up, just start with 90% whole foods, 10% the fun stuff instead. No need to rush it. Build your comfort zone bit by bit. These days, whenever I'm cutting, it never feels miserable or like I'm just missing out. Loads of whole foods to keep me full and a bit of what I fancy for sanity. My client Hossam lost 50 pounds doing exactly this. Early doors, he said, if I have a pizza, I'll just go mad. So we started him at 90-10, built his confidence, kept him hitting his targets and still losing fat. 1 year later, he's still lean. He's still eating out, having treats, not feeling deprived, not feeling like binging. And that's honestly it. He actually loves the way he eats now. So it's easy for him to stick to this. That is the real secret. Look, as you guessed it, I used to think fat loss was all about making myself miserable, cutting everything and pushing too hard. I found out the hard way, that's exactly what keeps you stuck. And honestly, fat loss isn't about doing everything at once or punishing yourself with extreme workouts or diets. If HIIT leaves you wiped all week, it's time to pull back. And you don't need to eat spotless 24/7 unless you actually just love it. Those guys who get lean and stay lean, it's not that they've got superhuman discipline. They just learned to avoid the stuff messing up most men. Like blowing their weekends or thinking one bad meal ruins it all. If you're sick of guessing and want some simple numbers, I've got a free calculator below. It will show you exactly where you stand and what to focus on next. And if you're a guy over 30 who's done with losing fat and putting it back on, a guy who finally wants to get to 15% body fat and actually stay there, I've got spots open for my strategic body blueprint program. Links down there if you want a real plan that fits your life, not some cookie cutter diet. And if you want a clear roadmap to seeing abs at 15% body fat, watch this video next. See you there.